Row the boat in circles. Welcome into the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by for the best in discussion, debate, and analysis. Running through those Big Ten schedules for 2025 in the midst of a college football playoff for 2024. Minnesota, of course, not reaching that level of play, but did well to get to a bowl game here in 2024. Minnesota and programs like PJ Fleck's team can get lost in an 18-team Big Ten. How will they fare here in 2025? Let's check out the level of difficulty compared to what the Gophers faced this past season. First, the non-conference games. Buffalo right out of the gate, August 28th. That looks like a Thursday night against the Bulls, coming off a successful 8-4 campaign. Minnesota 2-0 against Buffalo, winning in 2002 and in 2017. Minnesota's 8-1 against MAC teams going back to 2010 with a loss against Northern Illinois in that 2010 season. Then it's a game against Northwestern State. Minnesota 7-2 against FCS opponents dating back to 2000. They lost a game against South Dakota and also North Dakota State. Then the Power 5 matchup at Cal of the ACC, of course now. 6-6 were the Golden Bears here in the fall of 2024. Minnesota down in this series 4-2. Cal won the two recent meetings, 2006 and 2009, went to the Golden Bears. Then a bye week to get set for Big Ten play. And a date against Rutgers. And Minnesota was on a roll before going to Piscataway with a 4-game winning streak. Rutgers was down. Minnesota blew a fourth quarter lead in losing to a 7-5 Rutgers team. The Gophers do lead the series 4-1. Then they start off the month of October going to the Shoe to take on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Last time Minnesota and Ohio State faced each other in the Shoe as well, 2023, and a 37-3 Ohio State win. Minnesota's won just 7 of 54 games in the series, has not claimed a victory since 2000 when Glenn Mason and John Cooper were on the sidelines. Then it's Purdue. And, of course, everybody beat Purdue this past season. Minnesota did not get that privilege, but they beat up the Boilers in 2023 and lead the all-time series 41-35. Then it's Nebraska on October 18th, an old Big Ten Western Division foe. The Huskers, of course, finally got back to a bowl game at 6-6. You could win a whole lot of bets on this series record. Minnesota leads 37-25-2. They're 8-5 against Nebraska since the Huskers joined the Big Ten. Minnesota's won 5 straight in the series. Not 5 straight in this series, though. Going to Iowa City on October 25th. Hawkeyes coming off an 8-4 campaign, and they have had PJ Fleck's number at 7-1. Then it's a game against Michigan State. Minnesota defeated Sparty in 2022 and 23, though they are down in the series 30-19. Then after the bye week, to get set for a rough road trip to Watson Stadium to take on Oregon, a team Minnesota did not have to face in 2024 when the Ducks went 10-0 against the Big Ten. Minnesota leads the all-time series 3-1, and they took the 1999 Sun Bowl from the Ducks. Then it's Minnesota at Northwestern. They blew a 17-point lead 2 years ago against the Wildcats in 2023. But Minnesota leads the all-time series 56-37 before, of course, the traditional showdown to close out the season against Wisconsin. That will be played on a Saturday as opposed to the Friday game that the two rivals played for Paul Bunyan's Axe this past season, with Minnesota winning easily. Gophers have won 3 of 4. The Badgers coming off a disappointing 5-7 finish. And look at this series, the oldest in the history of major college football. 63 aside plus 8 ties as they have played 134 times. Out of 9 conference games, Minnesota plays the same 3 teams. Those would be Iowa, Wisconsin, and Rutgers. So there's a big difference between 2024 and 25. The 2 heavyweights, the helmets right behind me, Ohio State and Oregon on the schedule. Then it's Nebraska, Michigan State, Northwestern, and Purdue. Those are the 6 games that Minnesota will have to contend with this season and a combined 24-30 record. Keep in mind, of course, Northwestern went 2-7 and Purdue 0-9. And at the top end, of course, Oregon won 10 consecutive games in the Big Ten, including the championship game at Ohio State at 7-2. Those games replace Penn State, Illinois, who had a strong season at 6-3 in the Big Ten, Michigan, USC, UCLA, and Maryland, and therefore actually a slight decrease in wins when comparing the 6 different opponents for Minnesota. But I do not think in any way that that's consequential, substantial in any way, especially considering the top-end teams that the Gophers will have to face here in 2025. 2019 was a long time ago when the Gophers broke through at 11-2. They did post 2 9-4 seasons, the next 2 full seasons, but it's been a losing season 2 years ago, followed by a 7-5 and a bowl appearance. Has Minnesota leveled into that mid-tier of just teams that get lost in the Big Ten? Or will the Gophers have a breakthrough at some point under P.J. Fleck? Your thoughts about Minnesota football, the coming schedule for 2025. Of course, I do give them a gold star for scheduling somebody in the Power 5. That would be the Cal Golden Bears, unlike Rutgers, Indiana, Maryland, and others in the Big Ten. Comments are welcome, of course. Check out our Big Ten Live show. It's every Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern Time right here at the Voice of College Football. See you next time.